Hello again and welcome back to the PhatPhish Guitar Studio. I'm Dave, and in this video I'm going to cover something which I don't think I've touched on before in a video, and that's what's the best bit of advice, the one piece of advice I'd give to a guitar player. Something I've seen covered on a few of the other guitar YouTube channels that I follow recently seems to be a bit of a theme, and I realised I've not done it on my own channel, so now's the time to do something about that. This isn't going to be like, the obvious things like, learn how to hold the guitar, learn how to pick the strings, learn how to fret a note. This is, something a bit more philosophical, and it is listen with your ears and not your eyes. Sounds a bit strange. What do I mean? Well, let's get into it. There's actually a couple of meanings to it. The main one that I'm thinking of, I'm going to cover first, but there's another sort of aspect to this which I think applies to any guitar player, even more experienced guitar players. I'll come on to that later. So it's a bit of a 2-for-1 deal, this one. But yeah, listen with your ears and not your eyes. So when I teach somebody who's inexperienced, who's just learning, getting to grips with the guitar, there's an awful lot of things for them to think about. There's how you hold the guitar, what you're doing with your left hand, and as I've said this before, the way you hold your fretting hand. It's quite an artificial, unnatural thing to do. The strings feel really hard to push against the frets. It's really hard work. It's not. Once you get experience, it's an absolute doddle. But for an inexperienced guitar player, fretting a string is really hard work, and they really put a lot of effort into it. Coordinating your picking hand with your fretting hand, making sure that your picking hand hits the right strings. Lots of new stuff going on. And what I see students do is they concentrate on, I've got to make sure I'm hitting the right notes is the main thing. So let's say I'm teaching you an exercise, we're working with a minor pentatonic, and we're just going to go down the scale in triplets. So this is purely an exercise. It's not meant to sound particularly musical. It's about playing a triplet pattern, 1 flat 7 5. Triplet pattern flat 7 5 4, triplet pattern 5 4 flat 3, and finishing on the root. But it's 3 triplets and then 1 whole note. Yeah. Now, some of those transitions are easier than others for the inexperienced player because you've got notes that are on the same string. So going from the 1 to the flat 7, maybe that's a little bit trickier because you've got to negotiate going from one string to the other. But once you're on that second string, going down to the 5th degree is quite easy because all you've got to do is take your little finger off and the note is there. Then the next pattern of notes, you're starting from that flat 7 again, down to the 5th, and then having to make a transition to the 3rd string for the 4th degree of the scale. So what often happens is someone will try to play that and you can see them concentrating, and it's like, now that's not what I asked you to play. I asked you to play, but I'm hearing because the student's just looking at it saying, oh, what have I got to do? What's the right thing to do? What's the next thing that I have to do? And I need to get it right. Oh, well, I know that I can go from this string, from this fret on this string to this fret on this string, and make the transition. That's really easy. Maybe that's the target speed. Maybe that's how fast they're trying to play it. But then going from that fret on that string to that fret on that string isn't as easy because you think, oh, well, I need to move my pick and make sure I hit the next string, and I go a bit slower, and that slows them down. So I'll set them that exercise and then sit down and they play it like that, and that's not what I asked you to play. But they're looking at it and they're just saying, well, that's right, 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 that's right. Oh, I've played it right. I'm hitting all the right notes. It's not just about playing the right notes, it's about playing the notes in the right way. Because I might use this as an exercise, and we're playing this. It's very metrical. It's very triplet based. So, but I could come along and say, okay, we've got that basic idea. Let's put a bit of feel onto it and play. playing exactly the same notes, same order, but I'm phrasing them slightly differently. Some of those notes are lasting a little bit longer. I'm not playing strict triplet patterns on those first 3 beats anymore. So if I haven't mastered the first exercise, where I've got control over not just the notes that I'm playing, but the timing, then I'm not going to be able to play variations on that with different timing, because I haven't really been playing the timing of the phrase. I've only been playing the notes. And if I obsess about making sure that I hit the right notes, I don't think so much about how am I actually playing them. This is what I mean by listening with your ears rather than your eyes. The inexperienced student will look at that and think, okay, I'm playing this right because I'm seeing my fingers going to the frets that I want my fingers to go to. I'm playing the note, then I'm moving on to the next, and so on. I'm playing all the notes, right notes in the right order. Eric Morecambe joke there, for those of you who get that. And it all sounds right. No, it doesn't. To me, as the teacher, that's sounding wrong because you're not respecting the timing of the notes. Listen to what you're playing. Also, when you're playing a note, as I said, playing a fretted note for an inexperienced player is quite hard, and you can make mistakes like just pushing down on the fret too hard, maybe bending the string ever so slightly, and it's going out of tune. So if I'm asking you to play and you're actually playing, well, what are you doing there? Well, you're fretting so hard on that flat 7 degree, you're actually bending the string slightly out. So instead of hearing, I'm hearing. Don't just look at where your finger is and say, oh, well, that note must be right. What's your ear telling you? Is that actually play? Are you actually playing? Or are you hearing a slightly out of tune note? Make sure your guitar's in tune. Make sure that what you're hearing is what you're supposed to be hearing, not that it just looks right. And that's really important. What I'm showing you there is a really basic exercise. But you can imagine it's not difficult to take that misconception of like, oh, I'm doing it right because I'm playing the right frets and the right strings, and then trying to take that to a more complex piece, and your phrasing is just all over the place because you're not listening to what you're playing. You're just saying, well, it looks like I'm playing the right notes. It looks like I'm playing the right chords. So that's what I mean when I say listen with your ears, not your eyes. But as I said, this is a bit of a 2-for-1 deal. That piece of advice, I think, is more for somebody who's learning guitar. It's a more foundational thing. But the same piece of advice applies to more experienced guitar players. It very possibly applies to you. And the idea of listening with your ears and not your eyes relates also to gear. So when this video started, I know that there are quite a few of you who probably weren't looking at me. I'm talking, I'm delivering this lesson, lecture, whatever you want to call it, but you weren't looking at me. I wouldn't blame you. I mean, I look like this. Why would you want to look at me? No, what you were looking at was my guitar. Specifically, what you were looking at was this, the logo. It's like, he's playing some Strat-shaped object. Is it a proper Fender, or is it a Squier, or is it some sort of copy? Well, it happens. It's a Fender. It's a American Standard. But you were probably looking at it and think, oh well, is it a player series? Is it a standard? Is it professional? What is it? Is it better than some guitars or worse than some guitars? You were looking at that guitar there and saying, oh, is that better? Is that a custom? Maybe that's a custom shop. It is a custom shop. It doesn't matter though. What matters is when I'm playing music, does the music sound good? Does the tone that I'm getting from the guitar, is it sympathetic to the piece that I'm playing? But so many people fall into the habit of being a gear snob, and the first thing they will look at is they just go straight to the headstock. What's the logo? Is it a Squier? Is it a Fender? Oh, is it an Epiphone, or is it a Gibson? It really doesn't matter so much. It probably matters to the player. I've got, as you can see, I have a number of guitars. I use them on my videos. I use them for all sorts of different things, and each one has its own particular strength or weakness, where I might choose to use this guitar over the Epiphone or over one like my Les Paul down there. Each one has something that it brings to the party, and sometimes a less expensive guitar, what you might look at as being a lesser guitar, is actually better. I mean, that Epiphone there I paid 300 and something pounds for a few years ago. The intention was it'd be a fun little guitar. It's got big speed, it's got P90s, so it's going to have a big goof around with it and probably sell it on. I actually really like it, and I often find myself picking that up in preference to a custom shop Strat or a vintage Les Paul or a guitar that I've had custom built for me, like my Williams Evo, or the standard Strat. It just sometimes it suits my mood, and the fact it was a fraction of the price of some of these other guitars, it doesn't matter. It motivates me, it inspires me in some way. So the guitar matters to me. It shouldn't matter to you as a listener. What you should be listening to is how it sounds, and does the sound please you? And yeah, there are plenty of examples of big name guitarists, so you think, oh, they're millionaires, superstars, they can afford anything. An example that springs immediately to mind is Mike Rutherford from Genesis. There's a story in the paper, was it last year? I think it was earlier this year when Genesis were doing their tour, that he was going on stage with a pink Squire Strat every night. What, 100, 150 pounds? I don't know what the retail is on them, but they're not an expensive guitar. It's not even a Fender. Well, does it matter? He gets a good sound out of it. And you can do things with a guitar if you want. You can put replacement pickups in and drastically change the voice of the guitar. If you're looking at a guitar, I might have some here that's just some complete no-name brand, but I might have set it up, set it on like Monty pickups in or something like that, and completely changed it and made it a better guitar. Just by looking at the logo, you can't tell anything. Nothing of value about what I'm playing. Don't be a gear snob. Listen with your ears, not your eyes. If the guitar sounds good, it sounds sympathetic to the piece, there's a good sound, that's what matters. It's not a case of looking at it and saying, oh, I'm going to enjoy this piece of music more because it's being played on a guitar that has Fender on the headstock, as opposed to something that might sound rubbish because it's got Squire on the headstock. That doesn't matter. How does it actually sound? If it sounds good, it is good. If it sounds rubbish, it is rubbish. It's not about the logo on the headstock. So there you go. Listen with your ears, not your eyes, to what you're playing and what you're hearing other people play music on. I hope you found that useful and enjoyable and all that good stuff. If you did, please click like down there. If you really enjoyed the video and you want to see more stuff that I post onto the channel, then please click subscribe, which is also down there, and click that bell icon so you get notified of any other videos that I upload. You're welcome to leave a comment, but YouTube's a bit rubbish at notifying me when people leave comments on videos, so if there's something you particularly want me to see, if it's questions about guitar playing, guitar gear, music theory, anything at all, you're better off going here, fill that form in. That way your question comes direct to me, I can see it, and I can get around to answering your question in a future video. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.